I pretended to be gay to trick the campus genius into writing a paper for me. After I blocked him, he sent me my computer's IP address. You're at Lakeside University too? You better pray I don't find you, or I'll fuck you up. When I saw those 3 anonymous messages, I was shaking in my seat during English class. That's because the victim, our resident genius Stephen Stanley, was sitting right in front of me. He looked focused, like he was paying attention to the lecture, but he was gripping his pen so hard it was about to snap. I could tell he was furious. He'd been trying to reach me for days, using a bunch of different numbers. I ignored them all. So he resorted to crawling the web and digging up my IP address. I was screwed. Stephen Stanley was gonna fuck me up? How exactly? I glanced at his biceps, which he kept in shape at the gym. Even under his loose-fitting athletic wear, you could see the faint ripple of muscle. One punch from him and I'd be scattered in pieces, wouldn't I? I was on pins and needles for the entire class. The second it was over, I bolted back to my dorm. The first thing I did was shut down my computer. After that day, I didn't dare turn on my PC to play games for a whole month. My beef with Stephen Stanley started 2 months ago. Stephen was a model student who beat me in every single competition. Now, in our sophomore year, I'd lost out on the scholarship again. It was because Stephen had entered the university's software coding competition and won a top-tier award. That competition was full of geniuses, mostly grad students. I heard a rumor that Stephen's aunt was the dean and had pulled some strings to get him onto that team. Wasn't that a blatant case of nepotism? I wasn't having it. Right around then, my childhood friend failed a class and was begging me to help him write a paper. Come on, man, isn't Lakeside University full of brilliant people? What's so hard about one paper? If you help me out this time, I'll give you $5,000, and I'll owe you for life. You're a law major and I'm in computer science. What am I supposed to give you? Suddenly, I paused. Doesn't Stephen minor in law? Right then and there, I accepted my friend's request. It wasn't really about the $5,000. I was mostly just interested in messing with Stephen. That night, I created an alt account and began my mission to reel him in. I immediately sent Stephen a picture of a hot girl I'd found online. Hey handsome, wanna meet up? A moment later, he replied, I'm into guys. I was like, what? Then I saw the red exclamation mark. He blocked me? Damn it. A total failure on my first try. Frustrated, I used my dad's phone number to create another alt account. This time, I was more patient. I started by liking his posts on X every day, then leaving occasional comments. Until one day, he finally replied to me, asking if I also studied programming. I knew my chance had come. I pretended to be a straight guy who was terrible at school, telling him I was a law major who was just interested in computers. Gradually, we started talking more and more. One night, when the mood felt right, I casually sent him a mirror selfie I'd taken, showing only my waist. Everyone who saw my waist said it was nice. It was slender but curved, and my skin was pale. Me, hey genius, I've lost a lot of weight recently. Him, what's wrong? Me, I can't finish my paper and my professor said if I don't turn it in, I'll fail again. So hard. He was typing for a long time. Me, I have to go get back to work. I probably won't have time to chat for a while. He replied instantly. Him, wait, let me help you. Send me the topic. In the dark, I was cackling under my blankets in the dorm. Just you wait, genius. I'm gonna play you for a fool. I promised Stephen that if he helped me finish the paper, I'd meet up with him IRL, and we could even start dating. I had him hook, line, and sinker. He started texting me good morning and good night every single day. Less than a week later, Stephen sent me the completed paper. The plagiarism score was incredibly low. You could tell he'd put a lot of care into writing it. I thanked him. Victim 1. When can we meet? How about Sunday? The weather is supposed to be nice. Victim 1. Is your waist really that thin? I feel like I could wrap one hand around it. Victim 1. Can I see some other pictures of you? Victim 1. Why aren't you replying? Was I being too forward? The second Stephen sent his apology, he received a notification that he'd been blocked. I can just imagine the stunned look on his face. Felt so damn good. The $5,000 from my friend hit my account. I immediately bought a new pair of sneakers. When I went to the basketball gym, as luck would have it, I ran into Steven. I was in the locker room changing. I pulled off my t-shirt. I thought the footsteps behind me belonged to a teammate. Who are we playing against later? I'm so done with playing forward. The person behind me didn't say anything. I turned around and saw Steven staring at my waist. I jumped, quickly using my jersey to cover my torso. What do you want? Steven looked away. Sorry, you're blocking my locker. Feeling a little guilty, I quickly pulled on my jersey and left. I'd sent him a picture of my own waist to avoid him recognizing a random internet photo. He couldn't have figured it out, could he? But I'd used a filter on that picture. Judging by his reaction just now, he probably didn't recognize me. When I got to the court, I realized my friend had invited Steven and his buddies to play. I stared at Steven's tall frame. Shit, how are we supposed to win against that? The whistle blew. I stepped onto the court, my heart pounding. I thought we were going to get crushed, but surprisingly, Steven wasn't that amazing. I managed to score on him several times. During one face-off, I almost tripped, and he was even gentlemanly enough to steady me by grabbing my waist. I sank a three-pointer, winning the game. I actually beat Steven Stanley for once. Felt incredible. I lifted my shirt to wipe the sweat from my forehead. Steven was sipping from a water bottle, but his gaze drifted over to me. I quickly pulled my shirt back down. After the game, Steven asked if we wanted to grab dinner together. I said I had something to do and made a quick escape. Even though we were in the same class, Steven and I didn't interact much. Half a month went by, and Steven hadn't tracked me down. He'd probably let it go, right? Lakeside University was huge, anyway. How could he possibly pinpoint me out of everyone? For the university's anniversary, we got a few days off. I signed up for a 3-day, 2-night hiking trip with my club. I was late to the meetup. Everyone had already been assigned rooms at the hotel. The club president pointed to a guy on the corner sofa. There, you can room with him tonight. I looked over and met Steven's deep, dark eyes. I froze and quickly shook my head. President, are there any other rooms? Nope. Everyone else is paired up with their partners or best friends. Steven's the only other single guy. You're both dudes, it'll be fine. It was not fine. Not at all. I was terrified he'd recognize my body. After dinner that evening, the president organized some icebreaker games to help us get to know each other. I deliberately sat as far away from Steven as possible. I sat next to the president, Alex. Alex was a really gentle guy who made sure to look out for everyone. Seeing that I was losing a lot, he even started taking penalties for me. Across the crowd, my eyes met Steven's. He was quietly sipping a glass of orange juice, his gaze like that of a prowling wolf. At the time, I didn't understand why he kept staring at me. Later that night, we went back to our room to rest. He closed the door and slid the deadbolt shut. When I got out of the shower, I found him standing right outside the bathroom door. Startled, I tried to sidle past him, but he blocked the doorway, his eyes scanning the belt of my bathrobe. Do you know a Christian? Huh? Who's that? I feigned calmness, but my heart was hammering. Chris was my childhood friend. Steven closed in on me step by step. Lucas, stop pretending. Oh, my mistake. Should I call you Leo? Leo was the fake name I'd used when I was flirting with him. I'm so dead. I took a step back. My foot slipped on a puddle of water, and I lost my balance. Steven caught me, wrapping an arm around my waist. His eyes were dark, and he spoke through gritted teeth. It really is thin. The last time I thought that mole on your waist looked familiar. Lucas, was it fun messing with me? Do you have any idea what I've been through this past month? You remember what I said would happen if I caught you, right? I swallowed hard. That you'd fuck me up? Bring it on. He smirked. Then don't you come crying to me later. I balled my fists, ready for a fight. When it came to brawling, I'd never been afraid of anyone. But then Steven suddenly took a step forward and shut the bathroom door, and picked up a bottle of body wash. What? What the hell? Steven, what are you doing? I clutched my bathrobe tightly. He reached out and lifted the hem of my robe. Sensing trouble, I scrambled back a few steps. Steven advanced slowly, his eyes gleaming with the fury of a predator that had finally cornered its prey. "Didn't you tell me to bring it on? Then why are you trying to smear body wash all over me? I just took a shower." As I yelled, he closed in. Steven grabbed me, his face a mask of cold anger. "You'll find out what I'm going to do in a second." His leg pressed against mine. I felt something unusual and my eyes went wide. Holy shit, this damn gay. I instinctively tried to shove him away, but my elbow hit the shower handle. Water sprayed down, soaking his clothes. The well-defined, powerful muscles beneath his athletic shirt tensed with his effort. I couldn't break free from his iron grip. "You bastard. This is assault. I'm not gay. Let me go." "Not gay. Then why did you lead me on? Just to mess with me?" I didn't deny it. "Then you deserve this even more." He gritted his teeth and, in a fit of rage, bit down on my neck. I flinched in pain and began to struggle like a cornered animal. I just wanted to pull a prank, not get myself into this mess. I'm sorry. Steven, I'll never do it again. I apologize." He wasn't listening at all, his hands still moving lower. I froze, stiff with fear. Suddenly, I stomped on his foot as hard as I could and used the opportunity to shove him away with all my might. Steven slipped on the soapy water on the floor. He stumbled backward and hit his head on the corner of the sink with a sickening thud. I quickly clutched my disheveled bathrobe and ran for the door. As I reached it, I heard a low, pained groan from behind me. I turned back. Steven was still on the floor, seemingly in a lot of pain. "Hey, are you okay? You started it, I was just fighting back. I was acting in self-defense." He didn't answer me, but I saw a red liquid spreading across the floor, mixing with the water. My eyes widened, and my blood ran cold. "Steven." I rushed over to check on him. Steven had hit his head, and his arm was already starting to swell. I grabbed a towel to apply pressure to the wound and frantically called for an ambulance. His face was pale with pain, but he still managed to shoot me a venomous glare. "Lucas, you just wait." My voice softened with guilt. Okay, just don't talk for now. If something serious happened to him here, I'd never be able to pay for it." The late-night ambulance call alerted the hotel manager and our club president. I told everyone that Steven had simply slipped in the shower. I spent half the night running around the hospital for Steven. I had $4,000 left of the money my friend gave me, and every cent of it went to Steven's medical bills. All that effort for nothing. What goes around really does come around. Thankfully, Steven didn't have a concussion, just a small cut above his left ear. His right forearm was fractured, so they put it in a cast. After 2 days of observation at the hospital, he was cleared to go home. In his condition, Steven couldn't take care of himself. Racked with guilt, I had no choice but to take him home. He liked his quiet, so he rented an apartment off campus. I kept apologizing, telling him I didn't mean for any of it to happen. The entire way, Steven wore a sour expression. If his arm wasn't injured, he probably would have already decked me. After we got inside, he went to the bathroom. Steven's place was pretty tidy. There were even 2 potted plants on the windowsill that were very well cared for. Suddenly, his voice came from the bathroom. "Lucas, come in here for a second." "What for?" I leaned against the doorframe. "You need me to hold it for you while you pee?" He shot me a glare. "In your dreams. Get in here and help me wash up." Steven hadn't been able to shower properly at the hospital and was probably feeling gross. I got a towel and adjusted the water temperature. As I was wiping him down, he just kept staring at me. I kept my eyes lowered, feeling a strange tension in the air. His muscles felt good, though firm but supple. Even through the towel, I could feel the defined lines of his physique. I glanced at the bottle of body wash on the counter and couldn't help but ask, "Why were you trying to put body wash on me that night? If you hadn't made a mess, you wouldn't have fallen. You really want to know?" His gaze was intense, like a wolf ready to pounce. I swallowed. "Never mind, I don't." He was probably just trying to mess with me. After I finished his upper body, I hesitated over whether to do his lower half. I tentatively moved the towel downward. Just as I reached his stomach, Steven quickly pushed me away. "Don't touch me there. Aren't you straight? Why are you trying to cop a feel?" Who's trying to cop a feel? Furious, I threw the towel into the basin. After I cleaned up the bathroom, I came out to hear him say he was hungry. What do you want to eat? Scrambled eggs with peppers, hold the peppers. Szechuan chicken, hold the peppercorns. Garlic eggplant, hold the garlic. And tofu with scallion oil, hold the scallions. Did he really think I was his personal maid? Our eyes met, and he let out a deliberate, soft hiss. Ow, my arm hurts. Hurry up and get me the food. I ground my teeth under my breath. Got it. He was so spoiled and demanding. I went downstairs, bought him a bowl of egg-fried rice, and left it at his door. I rang the doorbell and fled back to campus. I added Steven back from my real account. It was hard for him to type code in class, so I became his on-call little servant. Steven was incredibly fussy. His clothes had to be ironed, his keyboard had to be wiped down daily, and he was extremely picky about his food. Whenever I was at his place helping out, he would just watch me with a smug little grin, looking like a cat that got the cream. I actually started looking forward to class more. Class made me happy. Seriously. That evening, the club organized a new charity bake sale. When I went to help, I noticed Alex was constantly distracted. After the event, I asked him what was wrong. Alex pursed his lips. It's nothing. I just bombed my English speech competition. Didn't even place. The president was a business major and also a top student. I didn't know how to comfort him, so I just dragged him out for some barbecue. Dude, it's just a competition. Let's go to a gaming cafe later. I'll carry you to first place. I guarantee you'll have a blast winning. Thanks, Lucas. Alex sipped his bubble tea, his eyes sparkling. He said he wanted to pull an all-nighter, so we went to a hotel with gaming rigs. Just as we were checking in, Steven called. I clicked my tongue. I'd almost forgotten about that bastard. I answered the phone. Hey, what's up? Where are you? Why aren't you here yet? Oh, I forgot to tell you. Something came up today. Sorry about that. You'll have to order takeout yourself. The receptionist asked us, would you two like a room with one queen bed or two twin beds? Alex looked at me, letting me decide. One bed is fine. Steven had been running my pockets dry lately, so I had to go with the cheaper option. Steven's voice turned cold. Who are you at a hotel with? The club president. We're planning to game all night. The person on the other end of the line went silent for a moment. Steven, is it urgent? It's nothing important. My arm just hurts a bit, and I can't hang up my laundry. But if you're busy, never mind. With that, he hung up. Alex and I went to our room and started playing. It had been so long since I'd logged on, my heart was pounding with excitement. But for some reason, I wasn't as happy as I thought I'd be. While playing PUBG, my eyes kept darting to my phone. I was worried about Steven being home alone with his injured arm. It was his right arm, which meant there were a lot of things he couldn't do. If he ended up hurting himself again while he was alone, wouldn't I have to go back to being his maid? I started feeling restless. I had boasted about carrying Alex, but he ended up carrying me the whole time. Around 10 o'clock, I looked at Alex sheepishly. Hey man, a friend of mine needs me for something. I got to go for a bit. Sure. Alex was already on a killing spree, his eyes glued to the screen. I trudged downstairs. I rushed over to Steven's apartment, bringing a container of Szechuan chicken with me. I knocked on the door. Took him a long time to answer. Steven stared at me, looking a little stunned. His hair was still dripping, and he hadn't even rinsed all the shampoo out. What are you doing here? What do you think? Making sure you don't starve to death. The guy could barely eat with his left hand, he'd even needed me to feed him before. You should have called me to wash your hair. What if you'd fallen in the bathroom again? You said you were busy, he mumbled, a smile tugging at the corners of his lips. I dragged him into the bathroom and properly washed his hair for him. As I was drying his hair, he opened the food container. The Szechuan chicken inside didn't have a single peppercorn. Steven smiled. Lucas, how did you convince the chef to make Szechuan chicken without peppercorns? Ha! I picked them out one by one, that's how. The hand holding the spoon froze for a second. Steven ate very slowly. As I towel dried the ends of his hair, I didn't notice the moved expression in his eyes. After he finished eating, I started blow drying his hair. The moment I turned on the dryer, The sound drowned out his quiet thank you. Steven's hair was thick and coarse. I wondered if he'd go bald later in life when he became a programmer. The thought almost made me laugh. I glanced down and found Steven staring at me, his gaze as deep and dark as a bottomless pool. I suppressed my smile. What's wrong? Is the air too cold or too hot? It's fine. Steven looked away. I glanced down and realized I was standing between his legs. My knees kept brushing against his thighs. Shit, I forgot this guy was gay. I quickly took a step back. But he grabbed my arm and pulled me back between his legs. Keep going. Okay. I cleared my throat awkwardly, not daring to move an inch. Steven was wearing gray sweatpants, and I didn't dare look down. I cranked up the fan speed, trying to finish as quickly as possible. I was so focused on the task that I didn't realize how high I was lifting my arms, causing the hem of my shirt to ride up. My pale, slender waist was right in front of Steven. He stared quietly, rubbing his fingertips together. Just as a dangerous look flickered in his eyes, I announced, all done. It's dry. I stepped back to put some distance between us. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed the mark on his gray sweatpants had become more pronounced. Fuck, I didn't even do anything. Why was his reaction so strong? People always find something to do when they're embarrassed. I put away the hairdryer and noticed his closet was a bit of a mess. The first time I came to Steven's place, everything was perfectly organized. Even his clothes were sorted by color. How did it turn into such a pigsty in just a few days? I quickly started helping him organize the closet. A pair of gray boxer shorts fell out from among the clothes. I picked them up and looked at them. Why was this size bigger than any I'd ever seen? I thought back to the gray sweatpants from a moment ago. Shit, is this a normal size for a guy? As I was staring, lost in thought, the man himself walked in. What are you doing? Steven's eyes held a hint of disbelief, as if I were some kind of pervert. I'm organizing your closet for you. I frantically tried to stuff them back in. In my haste, I accidentally knocked over a storage box from the top shelf. The box and everything inside it came crashing down. Before I could react, an arm suddenly wrapped around me, pulling me into a protective embrace. The scent of mint shampoo mixed with his own smell filled my senses. I stared at the chest muscles right in front of me, still rising and falling gently. The storage box landed on his cast-covered right hand. Instead of wincing, Steven asked me, "Are you okay?" "I'm fine." I saw the worry in his eyes, and a strange, subtle feeling fluttered through me. Before I could figure out what it was, he had already let me go. The back of Steven's hand was red where the edge of the box had hit it. "Does your hand hurt? Should I get some ointment?" "It's just a scratch, I'm fine." I glanced at my phone. It was almost 11:30 p.m. "If you're okay, then I should get going." I took 2 steps, but he blocked the bedroom door. "Where are you going? Back to your all-nighter with your club president?" "Yeah, he's still waiting for me." I tried to push past him. He braced his hand on the doorframe, unmoving. "You're not allowed to go." "Why not?" Steven's eyes darted away as he quickly said, "My arm's bothering me. You have to stay and take care of me." "What? Didn't he just say he was fine a minute ago?" In the end, I stayed. Besides, Alex had other teammates to play with, so it didn't matter if I was there or not. Plus, I had an early class the next day and was worried I'd be late and Baldy Peterson would fail me. After showering, I put on a pair of Steven's pajamas. I automatically headed for the guest room, but the door wouldn't budge. "Steven, why won't this door open?" He rubbed his nose. "The lock's broken." "Then where am I supposed to sleep?" "In the master bedroom." "My bed's huge, anyway." I stared at him, remembering what had happened last time, and felt reluctant to share a bed with him. Sensing my hesitation, Steven shook his cast-covered arm. "I'm like this. What could I possibly do to you? Besides, do you think gay guys are into just any man?" That put my mind at ease. I carefully lay down on the bed. His bed really was huge. We could each sleep on one side without touching. Worried about bumping his injured arm, I stayed on my side all night. Late that night, as I was drifting in and out of sleep, I felt a weight on my waist that was making me tired. Long fingers slid across my skin, gently measuring the circumference. A low whisper broke the silence. So thin. You really can wrap a hand around it. Baldy Peterson's Java class was so hard. He even assigned homework. My head was spinning, and Steven still wanted me to help him with his homework. He provided the ideas and I provided the hands. I discovered that he truly was the top student in our year. His logical thinking was incredibly sharp. He was definitely going to be a great developer one day. With him around, I actually finished my assignment faster than anyone else. People are naturally drawn to strength, and I suddenly found myself kind of liking my time with Steven. You're amazing, genius. I've submitted the homework. Do you need me to come take care of you tonight? I expected him to nod smugly, but Steven hesitated for a few seconds. No, it's okay. I can manage on my own. I nodded, feeling a pang of disappointment. All right then, call me if you need anything. MHM. Steven's phone lit up. He glanced at it and hurried out of the library, as if something urgent had come up. Without my servant duties, I suddenly had free time. Even though I was back to my old, carefree life, I felt an unexplainable emptiness. It was probably just a matter of habit. That weekend, I was in my dorm playing games. By evening, Steven still hadn't contacted me. He seemed to be busy these past few days. I sent him a message, but he didn't reply. Could something have happened to him at home? I bought him dinner, scrambled eggs with peppers, no peppers, and tofu with scallion oil, no scallions. As I got near his apartment building, a tall figure standing under a tree caught my eye. I was about to say hello when I noticed another guy standing next to him. The guy was slender with slightly curly hair, wearing a light blue casual outfit, and had a really cute smile. The two of them were walking and eating ice cream cones. The weather was so hot that the ice cream started to melt. The guy handed Steven a tissue and helped him roll up his sleeve to keep it from getting dirty. Every move they made seemed so natural and familiar. I studied the other guy carefully and noticed the way he covered his mouth when he laughed reminded me of what people on the internet call a femme-bottom. Could he be gay too? If they were in the same scene, they probably had a lot to talk about. I watched as the two of them went upstairs together. I tightened my grip on the takeout bag. Had Steven found a boyfriend? No wonder he hadn't been looking for me. Someone else was taking care of him now. My arm fell to my side. A heavy feeling settled in my chest. Depressed, I went back to my dorm and ate the entire meal by myself. I ate so much my stomach hurt. Steven's arm healed. He asked me to go with him to the hospital to get his cast removed. But I made an excuse and said I was busy. He had someone else with him now anyway. It didn't matter if I was there or not. In class, Steven habitually saved a seat for me. I looked at his right hand, now able to hold a pen again. He didn't need my help with notes anymore, so there was no reason for us to sit together. I walked past him and found a seat in the back row. Steven turned to look at me, seeming a little confused. My phone lit up. Steven, you're not sitting with me? Why do you look so pale? Me, I was up all night gaming. I need to catch up on sleep. Steven, with Alex? Me, yeah. He didn't reply after that. During class, Steven sat in front of me, his posture as straight and tall as a pine tree. I had gone home that day and researched gay relationships. I discovered they were pretty complicated. According to the internet, Steven would probably be the top. And that other guy was soft and sweet enough to be the bottom. They seemed like a good match. Did they sleep together that night? In that same bed in the master bedroom? If so, Steven probably wouldn't bother me anymore. As I mulled this over, my mind felt foggy, and I didn't hear a single word of the lecture. The second class ended. I grabbed my book and headed out. Alex had invited me to go hiking on Sunday to watch the sunset. I needed to buy a hiking pole. Footsteps hurried behind me. Lucas, want to get dinner together? Steven asked. No thanks. At the store, Steven watched me as I picked out gear. Are you going hiking? Why didn't you ask me? I'm going with Alex. Him again? Why didn't you tell me? Your arm just healed. You probably shouldn't be doing anything strenuous. I paid and left. Steven's eyes darkened as he grabbed my arm. Lucas, have you been avoiding me lately? Are you afraid I'm going to settle the score for what you did? I was your maid for 2 months. Hasn't that debt been paid? If you're still not satisfied, fine, I'll write your paper for the next group project. Is that good enough? My voice was impatient as I shook off his hand. He pressed his lips together, his mood visibly sinking. I don't need that. That whole thing is over. I just wanted to hang out with you like we used to. Hang out how? You've got a guy with you now, don't you? Why are you still clinging to me? Who? How should I know? For all I knew, Stephen had brought more than one guy back to his apartment. The thought that I wasn't the only one who had slept in that bed sent a shiver of disgust down my spine. Stephen, I'm not gay, and I don't want to be your friend. Who you bring home and what you do with them is none of my business. Since you said we're past it, let's just call it even and you can stop bothering me. He stared at me, then suddenly let out a cold laugh. No wonder you hate me so much you had to mess with me. Is being gay that disgusting in your eyes? I instinctively wanted to argue, but I forced myself to stay quiet. I didn't hate gay people, but I just couldn't stop myself from being angry with him. Stephen took out his phone, his expression blank. Right in front of me, he deleted my contact. Don't worry, us gays will stay out of your way from now on. I stared at his retreating back, a suffocating tightness in my chest. After that day, Stephen and I went our separate ways. We didn't sit together in class anymore, and we didn't eat together. Even during gym class basketball, when a friend went to recruit teammates and Stephen saw me, he'd say he didn't feel like playing and turn around and leave. Who cared about playing with him anyway? I prepared my application to join the student party committee. When I went to see my academic advisor, I overheard some professors talking in her office. The preliminary list for the National Collegiate Coding Championship is out. I wonder if Lakeside can take first place again. Oh, Dean Shen, isn't your nephew really good? He won a top-tier award last time. How did he end up injuring his hand so badly and missing the chance to compete this year? Nothing to be done about it. He was just careless. Why don't you pull some strings and add his name to the list? Absolutely not. These spots are determined by competitive exams. Rules are rules. Haha, I'm just kidding. Everyone knows you're incorruptible, Dean. It's just a shame. Winning this competition would have guaranteed him admission to grad school. I stood outside the door, listening, a complicated feeling washing over me. So Stephen wasn't a Nepo baby? I had just been listening to rumors, thinking he'd used connections to get into the competition. Oh shit, I had completely misunderstood him, and I'd been judging him this whole time. I even caused the injury that made him miss this competition. I'd really messed up. I clicked my tongue, staring at the deleted contact on my phone, my scalp tingling with dread. I spent days agonizing over how to apologize to Stephen. One night, I finally bit the bullet. I sent Stephen a friend request, but he never accepted it. It looked like I had really pissed him off. My friend Chris called me to play games, complaining, "How come you're never online anymore? Been busy. You're not, like, in love, are you?" No way. After sending the message, I froze. Wait a minute. The symptoms my roommates had when they were in love were exactly what I was going through right now. Constantly losing sleep over one person, feeling down, always wanting to know what they were up to, feeling anxious about them. Check, check, and check. Alarm bells went off in my head. Even though the other person was a guy. Was this a one-sided crush? Could I have a crush on a guy? I thought back to the time Stephen had held me. I could still remember every expression, every move he made, with perfect clarity. My heart started beating a little faster. It wasn't like it was completely unacceptable. Could it be? Had I been turned? No way. I ran my hands through my hair, tossing and turning in my bed, unable to sleep. The club's charity sale was a huge success. Alex even got praised by the university for organizing the event. He arranged a celebratory dinner for everyone at the Sichuan restaurant across from campus. When I got there, I was surprised to see Stephen. I wanted to use this chance to apologize, and there happened to be an empty seat next to him. Just as I was about to sit down, he spoke coolly. "This seat's taken." Stephen's face was cold. I didn't know if he was doing it on purpose or not. The apology I had prepared got stuck in my throat. I had to find another seat, ending up next to Alex. Just before the food arrived, a figure hurried in. The newcomer sat right down next to Steven. I stared at the guy with the curly hair. He was wearing a trendy, playful outfit. Wasn't that the femme bottom from before? Steven called him Julian and greeted him with a smile. Julian was very delicate, almost like a girl, and meticulously put together. I frowned and asked Alex in a low voice, "Were we allowed to bring +1s to this dinner?" "Yeah, we were." My heart sank for no reason. Alex saw me staring at Julian and explained, "That's Steven's +1. He bought a ton of stuff at the charity sale and donated it all, so I invited him too." I nodded. It seemed Julian and Steven were very close. They might even be a secret couple. During dinner, Julian kept placing Steven's favorite dishes in front of him. He also knew Steven didn't like peppercorns or scallions and would pick them out for him. Steven said quietly, "I can do it myself. It's fine. Your hand just healed. The doctor said you need to rest it." Julian smiled, his actions looking completely natural and practiced. The other club members didn't know Julian and started making conversation with him. He cheerfully introduced himself. "My name's Julian. I was a high school classmate of Steven's. I'm currently studying film directing abroad, but I came back to hang out with him for a bit. I'm still trying to convince him to do his master's abroad, so I won't be so lonely." Wow, our genius Steven is planning to go abroad? Of course. Wouldn't staying at Lakeside be a waste of his talent? The other students chattered excitedly. So they were old classmates. No wonder they were so in sync. If they were planning to go abroad together, they must be really close. I lowered my head and took a sip of my drink, not realizing it was an alcoholic peach-flavored soda. The burn in my throat made me cough violently. Alex patted my back and handed me a glass of water. "Slow down. You're like a little kid." I caught my breath. When I looked up, my eyes met Steven's deep, dark gaze. I quickly looked away. If I hadn't come along and catfished him, he probably would have been with Julian a long time ago. I poked at the rice in my bowl, suddenly losing my appetite. After dinner, my neck started to feel incredibly itchy. I scratched it a few times. Alex's eyes widened. "Lucas, what's wrong with you? Are you having an allergic reaction? Your face is covered in red spots." "Is it?" I used my phone to check my reflection. He was right. I was almost as red as a monkey's butt. It was probably a seasonal alcohol allergy. My skin always got extra sensitive during the change of seasons. Alex touched my neck, telling me to stop scratching because it was getting redder. He said goodbye to the other students and said he was taking me to the infirmary. I told him he didn't have to, but Alex insisted. We had only taken a few steps when someone caught up to us from behind. Steven stared at me, his gaze cool. "President, I'll take him. It's getting late, you should walk the other girls back to their dorms." "Okay, that works." Alex was just a really nice guy who looked out for everyone. Soon, it was just Steven and me on the street. Steven grabbed my arm. I pushed him away and started walking on my own. He said coldly, "The infirmary is not that way. I don't need your help." I didn't want to see him right now. After a few steps, a force suddenly yanked me into a dark alley. "Lucas, what is your problem?" "I don't have a problem." "No? Then why do you say you hate me but then try to add me as a friend again?" "That's because..." My throat tightened for a few seconds. Whatever. I had to own up to what I did. The apology needed to be said. "I misunderstood you before. I thought you used connections to get into that competition, taking someone else's spot. But a few days ago, I found out that wasn't true, so I wanted to apologize." He froze for a moment, his grip loosening. "You only hated me because of that?" "Yes. And I'm sorry. I shouldn't have messed with you without knowing the facts. And I'm sorry I hurt your hand and made you miss the coding championship." "Okay, I've said what I needed to say. Don't you have to go be with him? Go on, don't worry about me." I scratched my neck impatiently, leaving a red mark. Steven grabbed my wrist, his thumb gently stroking my neck. "Is this red? How can I not worry about you? Don't touch me." I took a step back. His eyes grew cold, a hint of anger flashing in them. "Why can he touch you but I can't? Just because I'm gay, you find me that repulsive? Then why did you come after me in the first place? Lucas, what do you want?" "I should be asking you that question." I stared at him, frustrated, meeting his cold eyes. Just a moment ago, he was smiling and chatting with other people, talking gently with Julian. But with me, he was this cold, colder than a stranger. I clenched my fists, my frustration boiling over. You have a boyfriend now, don't you? So why are you still paying attention to me? Is that appropriate? You turned me gay, and now you're going abroad with your little lover? What gives you the right? I get it now. This is your revenge, isn't it? Stephen, you're just trying to get back at me, to make me miserable on purpose, right? He was stunned. After a long moment, Stephen slowly refuted my claims. I don't have a boyfriend. Julian is just a friend, and our parents know each other. And I have no intention of going to his school. And when did I turn you gay? How come I didn't know about it? I stood frozen. They weren't together? Then what was I so worked up about? Didn't that just make it seem like I was jealous? I was overcome with embarrassment and shame and immediately turned to leave. I was just talking nonsense. I'm leaving. He quickly grabbed my arm. The next second, Stephen pinned me against the wall. His dark eyes moved closer, a smile playing on his lips. Oh, Lucas, you like me? Why didn't you say so sooner? I don't. Before I could finish, a gentle kiss landed on the corner of my mouth. I froze completely, forgetting to resist. What was even more terrifying was that I didn't seem to mind it. I stared at his lips, so close to mine, and even felt an urge to touch them again. As if reading my mind, Stephen leaned in again, kissing my Adam's apple and soothingly stroking my itchy neck. All right, stop fussing. Let's go get you some medicine. Stephen bought the medicine and took me back to his place. As he was applying the cream, I stared at the entryway. There was still only one pair of slippers. The other pair was the disposable kind for guests. I couldn't help but ask, when Julian came over last time, did he rest in your room too? No, he just sat for a bit and then left. He can't stand the bland food abroad, so he came back for a visit. How did you know he came to my place? I just know. Stephen put away the cotton swabs, the smile in his eyes threatening to overflow. Lucas, is that why you misunderstood my relationship with Julian? So you've been jealous this whole time? No. The internet says you gays are all really wild. I just thought you were one of those casual types. I stubbornly denied it. But in reality, the moment I heard his answer, the weight on my chest vanished. The gloom that had been hanging over me for half a month suddenly lifted. Casual? Stephen ground his back teeth in annoyance. That depends on who it is. What do you mean? I looked up, and he suddenly leaned in to kiss me. I turned my head to dodge it. What are you doing? I never agreed to be with you. You've been drowning in jealousy, and your mouth is still this stubborn? Let's see if anything else is just as hard. What? Stephen lunged, pushing me down onto the sofa. His kisses were so intense I could barely breathe. My face was swollen and red like a pig's head, and he could still bring himself to kiss me? I turned my head to avoid him, using my hand to block my face. Stephen pinned my wrists above my head and eagerly kissed me again. My heart was beating faster and faster. I never thought I'd end up fooling around with a guy. His hand pressed down on my waist. I suddenly panicked and quickly pushed him away. Stephen, I haven't showered yet. He curved his lips into a smile. Okay, I'll go get you some pajamas. After I showered, Stephen went into the bathroom. I discovered that the guest room door could be opened. He had deliberately locked it last time. That sneaky bastard. Once again, we were lying in the same bed. Stephen held me close the whole time, holding my hand to keep me from scratching my neck. His breath was close. We were facing off nose to nose. My heart wouldn't stop racing. I thought he was going to do something to me, but I waited until I was about to fall asleep. He still hadn't made a move. Stephen, you're not going to do it? Do what? He asked in a lazy, teasing tone. He knew exactly what I meant. Asshole. I rolled over, turning my back to him. He pressed up against me, his erection poking my back. A low chuckle rumbled from his chest. You're having an allergic reaction. I'm not going to take advantage of you. I'm not a complete animal. Go to sleep. Humph. Easy for you to say. Then put your weapon away. Final exams were approaching. Stephen always accompanied me to the library to study. He loved touching me. When we sat together, He'd either press his arm against mine or his leg against mine. I was terrified someone would find out we were gay. There was still so much prejudice against same-sex relationships. That night, we left the library. The elevator was packed with students. Steven and I were standing in the back. He secretly tried to hold my hand. I quickly pulled away and shot him a glare. On the way back, once we were in a deserted area, he grabbed me and tried to kiss me. I dodged him again. Steven frowned and pulled me to a stop, his expression serious. "Why do you keep avoiding me? Lucas, are you still that bothered by being with a guy?" "No, it's not that. I'm just worried about what other people will say." "Who cares what other people think? We're dating, not committing a crime." He was right, but if things got serious, it could affect our studies. Before I could say anything, he was already angry. Steven walked on ahead, his face a mask of cold indifference, keeping his distance from me. When we reached a deserted patch of woods, I pulled him in, out of sight of any cameras. I grabbed his collar and forced him to lower his head. I kissed him on the lips. Steven stared at me, his eyes smoldering as if I'd lit a fire in him. He suddenly pulled me into a tight embrace, taking control with a fierce, hungry kiss. When we finally came up for air, I explained, "Steven, this is my first relationship, and it's with a guy. The social stigma is making me nervous. I didn't mean to make you angry. MHM. He smiled in response, his fingers ceaselessly kneading my waist. His fingertips slipped under the hem of my shirt, and with one hand, he clasped my side, pulling me closer. Steven's eyes were dark, filled with a simmering, restrained desire. "So thin. Feels like you'd break if I used too much force." "I'm not that fragile." I blushed and looked away. He kissed my earlobe and whispered, "Tomorrow afternoon, after our last exam, come to my place." To do what? To finish what we didn't finish before. My ears instantly turned beet red. The next day, after my exam, I couldn't go to Steven's place. Chris had come to visit. His school's exams had finished early, and he was already on break. He'd passed all his classes this time and excitedly dragged me out for an expensive meal to celebrate. I called Steven and told him my friend was here and I couldn't come over. He raised an eyebrow. "The same friend you conned me into writing a paper for?" I laughed awkwardly. "I'll come find you as soon as I'm free." Steven just snorted. I didn't expect Chris to be like a wild horse let out of the stable. He dragged me all over the area around Lakeside University. He insisted on checking in at all the trendy, influencer-famous spots. I was so busy hanging out with him that I barely replied to Steven's messages. Gradually, Steven stopped texting. That night, Chris dragged me to a themed bar. He was fascinated by the cosplayers, taking a ton of pictures. When Steven called, I was having a drink with him. The noisy bar music carried over the phone, and he asked coldly, "Where are you?" "A bar." "Aren't you allergic?" "It's seasonal." "I'm fine now." Steven didn't sound very happy. "Send me the address." Soon, there was another person at our booth. I looked up, my smile faltering when I saw Julian standing beside him. Julian waved at me with a smile. I gave an awkward smile back. Chris was drunk and slumping against my shoulder. Steven came over, pushed him off me without a word, and sat down between us. I lowered my voice. "You've been with Julian all day? What, you're allowed to hang out with your friend?" "But I'm not." "That's not it." I mumbled, not understanding why Steven was being so passive-aggressive. Julian ordered a drink, his eyes darting between us, and then gave me a knowing smile. I knew there was a reason our genius was so distracted. Turns out the person on his mind wasn't around. You know? My eyes widened. "The way he looks at you is so obvious." I thought something was up at that dinner last time. Only an idiot wouldn't be able to tell. Julian seemed like an expert in love. He took a sip of his drink and skillfully winked at some guys around the bar who were giving him looks. I introduced Steven to Chris but didn't mention our relationship. They exchanged a few pleasantries. Chris was thirsty and reached for my glass. "No, I already drank from that." "So what?" "I used to eat your leftovers in high school." Chris picked it up and downed it in one go. He slung his arm around my shoulder. "Let's go. Let's get some late-night snacks. We'll order your favorite garlic eggplant." then go back to the hotel, play some games, and hit the sack. I didn't dare nod, because the person next to me was staring daggers at me. Steven, you two have been sleeping together these past few days? Don't make it sound so weird. He booked a room with 2 beds. He just wanted me to hang out with him for a few days before we booked tickets to go back home together. Steven replied flatly. He didn't show any reaction on the surface, but I could tell he was pissed. After we left the bar, Julian hailed a cab and left. Chris was so drunk he was swaying as he walked. He kept his arm around me, rambling about what game he wanted to play later. In his current state, could he even see the screen? I took Chris back to his hotel and was about to sneak out, but he fixed me with a sharp look. Where are you going? Lucas, you've been acting really weird lately. Weird how? You're always secretly checking your phone. You're not cheating on me with a new relationship, are you? I just smiled at him and pulled the blanket over his head. Go to sleep, you psychic. The room was quiet for a few seconds. As I was leaving, I heard a piercing shriek from inside the room. Ah, Lucas, you mother CKR. Get back here. When did you start dating someone? How come I don't know? Fuck, this is worse than killing me. I thought we were supposed to be kings of the singles all the way through our PhDs, you traitor. I didn't have time for him. I walked out of the hotel. Steven was already a dozen yards ahead. I chased after him. Didn't I tell you to wait for me? You were taking a long time. I thought you were going to stay with him. No way. I took his hand. He kept walking in silence. The whole way, Steven didn't say a word. I couldn't take it anymore. Hey, why aren't you talking? You were with Julian and I didn't get mad. Why are you upset? Don't be so petty. Yeah, you're right. I should be more generous. You should go back and be with your friend. He let go of my hand. I watched his back and stopped walking. Fine, I'll go. I deliberately turned and took a few steps. Before I even reached the corner of the street, the man from behind caught up and wrapped his arms around me. Steven held me so tightly I could barely breathe. Lucas, I am petty. I know you're just friends, but I'm still not happy. It bothers me to see someone else know you better than I do. What am I going to do? I just want to tie you up so no one else can ever find you. Before his dark thoughts could go any further, I cut him off. Steven, that's some psycho-level jealousy, you know that? We've only been together a short while. It's normal that you don't know everything about me. In time, you'll be the one who knows me best. I spoke gently, patting his back to soothe him. The tension in Steven's eyes eased a little. I took his hand and we walked home together. The moment we got through the door, Steven pinned me against it and started kissing me. For the first time, I realized Steven's patience had its limits. He tore my shirt. He showed me another use for body wash. That night, I really thought he was going to kill me.